Beneath our feet lies a universe that knows no rest. It doesn't matter if it's sunny, rainy, or silent above. It doesn't matter if the human world is still. Down here, on the border between earth and shadow, everything moves, everything listens, everything hunts, and everything can die. In the undergrowth, where the light arrives fragmented and the air smells of damp leaves and old wood, life isn't measured in years. It's measured in seconds. A fraction of time can be the difference between continuing to breathe or becoming food. On a human scale, a fallen leaf is insignificant, a detail of the landscape, but here a leaf is a roof, a wall, a refuge, a trap, an entire world. Beneath that leafy canopy, war is waged. Patrolling legs, antennae reading the air as if it were a map, compound eyes seeing what no vertebrate could ever process, and jaws designed for precise destruction. This is the insect kingdom, an empire so ancient it already ruled the earth before the great reptiles had even written their history, a dominion that infiltrated every continent, jungles and deserts, mountains and swamps. An army of forms and strategies that needs neither crowns nor flags because it governs with something simpler and more brutal: efficiency. Here, the concept of justice does not exist. The concept of mercy does not exist. There is only one law, repeated millions of times every day: survive. And if survival is the law, then predators are the enforcers. Insect predators are not evil creatures. They don't plan, they don't hate, they don't enjoy suffering. They don't need any of that. They are made to attack, to immobilize, to consume, to repeat the cycle. Evolution turned them into weapons with wings, traps with legs, living needles, capable of turning a healthy victim into an uncontrollable body in a matter of moments. In this documentary, we're going to cross that invisible border and explore the darker side of the small world. But make no mistake, small doesn't mean harmless. In this territory, violence is commonplace, and the balance depends on that violence never stopping. Because if the predators disappeared, the system would collapse, and silence would be the final signal. On the ground, the war begins with footsteps that are almost inaudible, a slow movement through the fallen leaves, a silhouette that seems part of the landscape, a long, angular, still body. Its colors blend with dry stems and shadows. There is no light, no noise, no signs, but she's ready. The praying mantis. Its appearance is deceiving to anyone who doesn't understand the language of the hunt. It looks like a fragile, delicate, almost ceremonial creature. Its front legs, folded against its chest, give the impression of a calm posture. But that calm is pure tension. The legs aren't resting, they're poised. They are biological scythes. Each one is armed with rows of spines that interlock like the teeth of a trap. When they close, they don't catch, they imprison. And the pressure is so precise that even prey, writhing in desperation, is reduced to useless movements. The praying mantis doesn't chase like a sprinter, it chases like an executioner. It chooses the spot, it chooses the height of its stalk, it chooses the angle from which its prey will pass unsuspectingly, and then it waits. It can remain motionless for a time that would be unbearable for us, minutes, hours, sometimes longer. Its body frozen, but its instinctive mind active, calculating distances. Its triangular head moves with unsettling slowness. Its enormous, alert, compound eyes process the world differently. It doesn't see like we do. It interprets movement with a precision that seems supernatural. And when prey comes within range, the world changes. A praying mantis's attack can happen so fast that the human eye barely registers a jump. The front legs shoot forward, the trap snaps shut, and the captured insect is impaled between spines. There is no warning, no sign, just a sharp crack. The abrupt end of a life. The victim struggles, the air vibrates, hind legs thump, wings flap. But the mantis already has control. It slowly draws the prey toward its mandibles and begins to devour it. Sometimes it starts with the head, quelling the resistance. Other times it begins where it is most efficient. There is no hurry, because in this world, haste is reserved for killing, not eating. The scene is brutal but functional. Each captured prey is energy transformed into life for the predator. The mantis doesn't kill out of cruelty, it kills because it is designed to do so. And yet even she can become food. In the same undergrowth, other hunters patrol not with patience but with bursts of speed. On the firm ground, where the heat builds and the shadows are short, a metallic flash appears. A small, armored body with long, spring-like legs. It pauses for a moment. Then it shoots off as if propelled by an invisible force. The tiger beetle. His armor gleams with shades of green, copper, or blue. It's not decoration, it's protection. But his true signature isn't color, it's movement. He runs so fast that at times his vision becomes insufficient. In human terms, it's like driving at top speed with your eyes going dark, and yet he hunts. How does he do it? Accelerating in bursts. It advances in short bursts, stops for fractions of a second, recalculates its target's position, and accelerates again. It's a spasmodic, almost violent pattern, as if its body were about to break. The prey sees a flash. It doesn't understand. It tries to turn. The predator reappears. Every pause is an adjustment. Every burst of speed is a death sentence. And when it finally reaches its victim, there is no gentleness. The tiger beetle's mandibles are large, curved, designed to pierce and anchor. They don't grip like soft tweezers. They dig in like hooks. The impact is a collision. A clash of chitin against chitin, followed by the dry sound of the exoskeleton giving way. And then, as so often happens in this world, the feast begins before death is complete. But the most unsettling thing about the tiger beetle isn't the adult. It's its origin. Underground, where the world grows dark and narrow, the larvae grow. They don't resemble the adults. They are something else. They are living traps, caverns with jaws. Each larva digs a vertical shaft, a perfectly functional burrow, and it settles in at the entrance with its armored head sticking out like a lid. From the outside, it looks like a crack, a flaw in the ground, nothing more. Until a prey steps on the edge. The attack is vertical and brutal. The larva springs forth, seizes its victim, and drags it into the darkness. The prey vanishes into the earth as if swallowed whole by the ground. And down there, far from any light, the consumption occurs in silence. In this phase, the world itself becomes a weapon. The war, however, is not confined to the ground. Over rivers, lagoons, and swamps, in clearings where the air is heavy with moisture, another type of predator dominates the space. The aerial hunter, the dragonfly. Unlike the praying mantis or the beetle, the dragonfly hunts with almost mathematical precision. It doesn't need slow ambushes or blind chases. It has the most powerful hunting tool: information. Its head is dominated by giant compound eyes, each with thousands of lenses. This gives it an almost total field of vision. It sees straight ahead, to the sides, and detects the slightest movements with precision. And its wings, 4 transparent panels, can move independently. That independence changes everything. While other insects fly like simple arrows, the dragonfly flies like a natural drone. It can hover, move backward, spin, accelerate, and brake without losing control. It is a machine forged over millions of years. From her perch, a dry branch over the water, she watches. She doesn't seem nervous. She doesn't seem rushed. She's just waiting for the right pattern. A mosquito, a fly, a small butterfly, even another weaker dragonfly. When prey appears, the dragonfly calculates. It doesn't chase where the prey is, but where it will be. It predicts the trajectory as if it could see the future, and then it swoops down from a blind spot. The attack doesn't always come from behind. Sometimes it comes from below, from the side, from where the victim cannot respond. Its legs, oriented forward and covered in spines, are not for walking. They are for capturing. They form a cage, a deadly basket that closes around the body of its prey in mid-flight, and there, suspended in the air, the execution takes place. The prey crunches. The dragonfly's mandibles work like blades. The body is sliced, dismembered, consumed. All this happens meters above the ground, leaving no trace but a brief interruption in the buzzing of the air. In the human world, such a death would be an event. Here it's routine, but the air has another executioner. One less elegant but more dangerous to entire ecosystems. One whose presence is announced not with an acrobatic dance, but with a heavy hum and a reputation for carnage. the hornet. In many regions of the world, hornets are dominant predators. They don't just hunt insects for themselves, they hunt to feed a colony, and a colony changes the scale of terror. A hornet can capture large and dangerous prey. Its mandibles cut, crush, tear off wings and shred bodies. Its stinger is not a symbolic tool, it is a syringe capable of injecting venoms designed to paralyze or cause severe damage. When a hornet flies nearby, it's not just an insect passing by, it's an armed patrol, a hunter with targets. On the border between water and vegetation, as the light begins to fade, another actor appears who doesn't kill immediately, but does drag his victims towards a slow end. The mosquito. For many, the mosquito is just a nuisance. In the natural world, it's a force to be reckoned with, not because of its size, but because of its impact. Its body seems fragile, thin legs, transparent wings, a minimal silhouette. But hidden within that minimal silhouette is a precision tool, the proboscis. It's not a simple needle, it's a set of extremely fine pieces that pierce skin with microscopic efficiency. Driven by the need to produce eggs, the female seeks blood. And to achieve this, she has an elegant and sinister strategy. First, she anesthetizes. It injects saliva that numbs the area so the victim doesn't feel the attack. Then the blood flows, the abdomen swells, the mosquito fills up, and he leaves. If it ended there, it would just be a theft. But often that saliva carries something more: parasites, viruses, invisible organisms that turn a brief bite into a slow-motion death sentence. Days later, the victim begins to weaken: fever, lethargy, disorientation, and in a wild ecosystem, weakening means vulnerability. The mosquito doesn't kill with mandibles. It kills by weakening, by turning healthy animals into easy prey, by disrupting the balance. In the insect world, death can be swift or delayed, but it always comes. Now look at the whole scene. The praying mantis carries out silent ambushes. The tiger beetle wields speed as a weapon. The dragonfly dominates the air with mathematical precision. The hornet transforms hunting into organized warfare. The mosquito infiltrates life and leaves invisible consequences. Each one occupies a different role. Each one represents a form of violence adapted to a space and a purpose. But there is one actor that deserves special attention: the army, the ants. At first glance, an ant seems insignificant. A small worker, a compact body, mandibles and antennae. But a colony is not just a collection of individuals, it is a superorganism, an entity made up of thousands, sometimes millions of bodies that act as if they were one. On the ground, a column of ants may look like a road, but it's a military highway, a supply route, a line of conquest. When a colony decides to attack, it's not a hunt, it's an occupation. The ants advance en masse, detecting vibrations and scents, marking chemical trails, reinforcing their advance with pheromones. If they find weakened prey, they surround it. If they find an invader, they cover it. Mandibles anchor, stingers appear, the venom does its work, and if one falls, another takes its place. Strength lies not in the individual, it lies in continuity. It's the same logic as a tide. You don't fight against a wave, you fight against the sea. And so, leaf by leaf, branch by branch, drop by drop, the microscopic world reveals its true face, a war that never ends. This is not an isolated spectacle. It is not a hidden dark side. It is the engine of balance. Predators control populations, prevent uncontrolled plagues, sustain food chains, and maintain the health of the ecosystem. When a predator hunts, it seems like cruelty. In reality, it's control, it's regulation, it's a system. And yet, even in this perfectly finely tuned domain, there is a threat that knows nothing of chitin, wings, poisons, or jaws, a threat that cannot be countered with speed or camouflage. Because beyond this eternal war, the environment changes. The swamps become polluted. The waters turn sterile. Dragonfly larvae, which once thrived as underwater hunters, find less oxygen, less food, and less of a future. The forests become fragmented, and with them disappear the flowers, the shelters, the microhabitats where these predators perfected their strategies. Pesticides silence the buzz. They don't just eliminate pests, they disrupt entire networks, and when the system loses its predators, the balance is broken. In the small world, big changes are felt first. But for now, as night falls and the undergrowth grows darker, the empire lives on. Antennae continue to read the air. Wings continue to cut through the moisture. Mandibles continue to open and close with precision. The war continues. Because this universe doesn't need light to exist, it only needs movement. And in the next part, we're going to enter the territory of the most disturbing killers, those who not only kill, but control their victim's body, turn them into an instrument and consume them from within. When night falls on the undergrowth, the battlefield doesn't go dark, it simply changes the rules. The silence grows thicker, sounds fade, visibility dwindles to indistinct shadows. But in this gloom, some predators reach their full potential. Here, brute force ceases to be the primary tool. Speed is no longer enough. In this territory, something more refined rules: poison. Poison is one of life's oldest weapons. Long before giant claws or razor-sharp fangs existed, chemistry had already decided battles. An invisible drop can do what brute force cannot: paralyze, liquefy, shut down entire systems from within. In the insect world, poison doesn't just kill, it controls, it dominates, it humiliates. And few represent this power with such starkness as a small, dark figure feared even by creatures hundreds of times larger. The bullet ant. On the damp rainforest floor, where leaf litter piles up in layers and light barely filters through, patrols an insect that doesn't need numbers to command respect. Unlike other ants, it doesn't march in endless columns. It doesn't depend on collective strength. She prefers solitude. Its body is compact and robust, covered in a dark, chitinous armor that blends into the ground. It measures only a few centimeters, but its presence is enough to alter the behavior of much larger animals. It does not flee, it does not hide when challenged. Keep it up. The bullet ant traverses its territory with almost mechanical determination. Its antennae move tirelessly, reading the world through vibrations and chemical signals. For it, the ground is not just soil. It is a living map of information: recent footsteps, nearby bodies, potential prey. When it detects movement, it doesn't attack immediately. It slows down. It adjusts its angle. It becomes a shadow among shadows. And when he decides to act, he does so without room for error. Its jaws snap shut on its prey with brutal force, immobilizing it. But that's not the end. It's the beginning. From the tip of its abdomen emerges its true weapon, a long, rigid stinger, perfectly designed for penetration. It is not a symbolic defensive tool. It is a chemical dagger. The sting occurs in a fraction of a second. The poison enters the victim's body and unleashes chaos. It's not just a simple paralyzing toxin. It's a substance that tricks the nervous system, sending signals of extreme pain, a constant, relentless discharge. For large animals, the effect is devastating. For small prey, it's fatal. The body goes into convulsions, muscles contract uncontrollably, coordination disappears. The prey remains alive, but unable to escape. In that state, the ant proceeds with absolute coldness. It dismembers, it transports, it consumes, but the bullet ant doesn't use its venom only for hunting. When an intruder invades its territory, a curious mammal, an unsuspecting reptile, the ant doesn't back down. It emits a warning sound, a chittering noise produced by rubbing parts of its abdomen together. It's a clear signal: retreat or you will suffer the consequences. Some ignore the message. And then, a tiny creature becomes the focus of a giant animal's pain. A single sting is enough to provoke an immediate reaction. Screams, twitching, desperate retreat. The territory is marked. This is the kind of power that is not measured in size but in effect. But the bullet ant is not alone in using chemistry as a weapon. In the desert, in the jungle, in the dry scrubland, another killer perfected an even more disturbing technique. One that not only kills, but turns the body of its prey into liquid food. The killer bedbug. At first glance, the assassin bug doesn't inspire respect. Its body is elongated, its legs thin, its movements slow. It doesn't look like a powerful hunter, but that impression doesn't last long. Its face hides one of the most sinister weapons in the insect world, a rigid, sharp beak folded under its head like a dagger ready to be deployed. The bedbug doesn't run. It doesn't charge. It approaches. It detects its prey through vibrations and chemical traces. A caterpillar moving forward, a distracted beetle, a motionless spider. Anything can become a target. The approach is meticulous. Every step is calculated. It stops. It moves forward. It stops again. It reduces any sound. It uses shadows. It uses irregularities in the terrain. The prey perceives nothing. When the distance is minimal, the bedbug strikes with surgical precision. Its front legs grip the victim's body, and at the same instant its beak unfurls and pierces a vulnerable point in the exoskeleton. The first injection does not kill. It paralyzes. The nervous system collapses. The muscles stop responding. The prey remains conscious but immobile, a corpse waiting. Then comes the second phase. The bedbug injects digestive saliva, a cocktail of enzymes that begins to dissolve the victim's internal tissues, organs, muscles, fluids. Everything slowly transforms into a liquid substance. The dam is liquefying from the inside. The predator waits. There's no rush. When the process is complete, the bedbug uses its beak like a straw, sucking out the contents of its victim. The body is left empty, an intact shell, lifeless, with no trace of the internal horror that occurred. But some bedbugs take this brutality even further. After feeding, they don't leave the body, they incorporate it. The remains of its prey accumulate on its back, forming a macabre armor made of corpses. This mantle serves two purposes. It breaks up the insect's silhouette and confuses the sense of smell of potential predators. It is camouflage made of death, a killer hidden among the ghosts of his victims. In the air, another executioner uses poison with a different strategy. He doesn't wait. He doesn't hide on the ground. He hunts in mid-air with attacks so swift they leave barely any time to react. The robber fly. Its body resembles that of a common fly, but its design reveals otherwise. Enormous eyes, spiny legs, a short, robust beak. Everything about it is geared towards intercepting moving prey. From its perch, a branch or a dry thorn, it observes the sky. It doesn't react to just any buzzing sound. It filters. It analyzes. It waits for a specific flight signature. When he detects it, he doesn't hesitate. It launches itself with a burst of speed. The impact occurs in mid-air. Its legs envelop the prey, neutralizing wings and stingers in a single movement. The victim is trapped. Then the fly uses its primary weapon. Its proboscis pierces the prey's body and releases paralyzing saliva. The nervous system shuts down. The body becomes inert. Then the same process as the bedbug: external digestion, internal liquefaction, suction. The feast takes place suspended in the air or on a nearby branch. Within minutes, only an empty shell remains, falling to the ground. The robber fly doesn't distinguish between allies and rivals. It attacks bees, wasps, mosquitoes, smaller dragonflies, and even other predators. In this world, there are no fixed hierarchies, only opportunities. And while these chemical killers patrol the land and air, another invisible actor continues to operate silently. One that doesn't kill immediately, one that doesn't need jaws or stingers, the parasite. Many parasitoid wasps don't hunt for prey to eat. They seek out bodies to infest. Their larvae cannot survive without a living host. Therefore, their goal is not to kill, but to keep alive. The wasp locates a caterpillar, a larva, a vulnerable insect. It approaches cautiously, and when it finds the exact spot, it inserts its ovipositor, a long, flexible structure, into the victim's body. The eggs are deposited inside. The prey is still alive. It's still eating. It's still moving. But she is no longer alone. When the larvae hatch, they begin feeding from the inside out. They don't devour vital organs at first. They keep the host alive as long as possible. It's a perfect strategy. The victim's body becomes both shelter and food source. Only when the final moment arrives are the essential organs consumed. Death occurs at the end of the process. The wasp doesn't return. It doesn't watch. It doesn't need to. The sentence has already been handed down. This type of predation leaves no immediate visible marks. There is no struggle. There is no blood. Only a slow, silent, inevitable death. In the insect world, even time can be a weapon. But this delicate balance of predators and prey faces a threat that knows nothing of chitin or toxins. The changing environment. Pesticides don't distinguish between pests and predators. Contaminated water doesn't just affect one species. Degraded soils eliminate burrows, shelters, and entire micro-ecosystems. When the chemical killers disappear, the populations they controlled explode. The system becomes unbalanced. Chaos ensues. The small world is fragile, but not weak. It endures, it adapts, but every loss leaves an invisible scar. And as the sun sets and night falls, the predators continue their patrols. Venom ready, beak sharp, sting taut. Because here, on this tiny scale, the war never stops. In the microscopic world, solitude is not always an advantage. So far, we've seen solitary killers. Hunters who rely on patience, speed, or poison. Predators who execute silently, one by one, like precise executioners. But there is another kind of terror, one that doesn't rely on personal skill or chemical subtlety, one that prevails by number. When death ceases to be an isolated act and becomes a collective phenomenon, the entire ecosystem is shaken. Here, predation is no longer an ambush, it is an invasion. In nature, few forces are as devastating as a coordinated swarm. It doesn't think as an individual, it doesn't hesitate. It doesn't stop in the face of pain or resistance. It advances as a single entity, a living mass guided by chemical impulses and invisible signals, a superorganism. And among all the armies of the insect world, there is one whose reputation has crossed continents and generations: the ants. At first glance, an ant is insignificant. A small, segmented body, functional mandibles, restless antennae. But this perception is a dangerous misconception, because an ant doesn't exist alone. It exists as part of something much larger. A colony is not a group, it is a distributed mind, an organism fragmented into thousands of bodies. Each individual fulfills a specific function. Workers, soldiers, explorers, none act of their own volition. All respond to a chemical communication system so efficient that it surpasses any human structure in response speed. On the forest floor, a scout moves forward. Its antennae skim the ground, detecting vibrations and molecules suspended in the air. It's not just looking for food for itself, it's looking for opportunities for the entire colony. When it finds something, an injured insect, an exposed larva, a weakened small vertebrate, it doesn't attack immediately. It marks. A drop of pheromone falls to the ground. It's a signal, a chemical message that says, food is here, and the message does not go unanswered. In a matter of minutes, the ground seems to come alive. From invisible cracks, from tunnels hidden beneath the earth, dozens, hundreds, thousands of bodies emerge. The column forms with unsettling precision. There is no chaos, no disorder. Each ant follows the chemical trail with pinpoint accuracy. The path is reinforced with each step, with each new signal. The prey still doesn't understand what's happening. When the swarm reaches its target, the scene ceases to resemble a hunt and becomes a siege. The ants surround, mandibles snap shut, stingers appear in species that possess them. The attack is not concentrated on a single point. It is distributed. The prey is immobilized by hundreds of simultaneous points of pain. There's no way to fight them all at once. The body becomes covered in insects. Ants climb, anchor themselves, bite. Each one contributes a small dose of damage. Together, they cause collapse. Within minutes, an animal that surpassed each individual ant by hundreds of times in size stops moving. But death is not the end of the process, it's the beginning of the harvest. Once the prey falls, the colony enters a second phase, dismemberment. Mandibles cut, tear, and separate segments. Each fragment is carried by a different worker. The scene, which previously seemed chaotic, transforms into an ordered choreography. A procession of death flows toward the nest. Nothing is wasted. Beneath the surface, the nest is a subterranean city. Chambers, tunnels, storage areas. At its center, protected by layers of bodies and compacted earth, lies the queen, the source of the entire colony, the reason for every attack. Everything the swarm captures is converted into energy for it and for future generations. The colony is growing, but not all ants hunt the same way. In some corners of the planet, there exists an even more aggressive version of this collective strategy. A type of ant whose reputation is based not only on its numbers, but on the intensity of its attack. Red ants. In warm, open environments like deserts and savannas, these ants build visible fortresses, mounds of earth that conceal complex networks of tunnels. At first glance, they appear harmless structures, but crossing their perimeter is a grave mistake. Red ants don't warn you, they attack. When an intruder sets foot on their territory, the sentinels react immediately. A chemical signal is released and the ground literally opens up. A reddish tide emerges and flows toward the target. There is no retreat, there is no negotiation. The ants climb up the legs, grip with powerful mandibles, and begin to sting. The venom doesn't kill instantly, but it produces an intense, burning, constant pain. One sting is annoying, 10 are unbearable, hundreds are debilitating, thousands are lethal. The victim thrashes, rolls, tries to escape, but the mass is too great. For every ant crushed, 10 more take its place. The colony doesn't retreat, it feels no fear, it doesn't assess losses. The goal is to neutralize. And he succeeds. But even these armies have enemies. In some deserts, certain reptiles developed a partial resistance to the poison. Thick skin, protective scales, specialized tongues that capture ants one by one. These predators turn the anthill into a constant buffet, challenging the swarm with unnerving calm. It's a war without a definitive end. Adaptation against adaptation. In the air, another form of collective organization dominates the skies: the hornets. Unlike bees, whose aggression is usually defensive, hornets are active hunters. They don't wait to be attacked. They seek out prey, and when they find it, they can act alone or in groups. A scout hornet patrols the forest. Its eyes detect movement. Its mandibles test the air. When it finds an abundant food source, a bee nest, a vulnerable colony, it doesn't attack immediately. Brand. It rubs its abdomen against the surface, leaving a precise chemical signal. It's an unmistakable message. Target located. Then he leaves. Minutes later, the sky changes. A squadron emerges from the hornet nest. 20, 30, sometimes more. They fly in loose formation, following the invisible trail that guides them to the marked colony. When they arrive, there is no recognition, there is no doubt. The massacre begins. The hornets position themselves at the entrance to the enemy nest. The guard bees emerge en masse, attempting to defend their home, but the difference in size and strength is overwhelming. The hornets' mandibles decapitate with terrifying efficiency. Heads fall, bodies collapse, the ground is covered in remains. The bees fight desperately. Stings pierce, but the hornet's armor is too thick. The damage is minimal, the defense fails. In less than an hour, an entire colony can be exterminated. Tens of thousands of individuals disappear. But honey is not the goal. The hornets ignore the stored nectar. Their real prize is the larvae and pupae, the future of the destroyed colony. Each hornet tears off sections of the hive, extracting the defenseless young. It carries them back to its own nest, where they will serve as food for its larvae. It's a total looting. Even so, even these organized tyrants are not invincible. Some specialized birds have developed defenses against its stings, thick feathers, scales, and techniques for digging up nests and devouring larvae. For these birds, the hornet is not king. It is a dangerous but profitable prey. The food chain always finds a way to balance itself, but not all collective organization is based on strength or numbers. In some insects, cooperation takes more subtle, more disturbing forms. There are species that don't hunt together, but whose life cycles are synchronized in such a way that their collective impact is devastating. Entire generations emerge at the same time, saturating the environment, depleting resources, and disrupting entire ecosystems. When millions appear at once, even predators are overwhelmed. And yet even this apparent chaos has a function. It controls populations, it regulates ecosystems, it forces other predators to adapt, to diversify their diets, to evolve. The insect world is not anarchy. It is a brutally efficient system. But this system is not invulnerable. When the environment changes too rapidly, organization ceases to be an advantage. Pesticides, habitat destruction, soil fragmentation. A nest that takes years to build can disappear in minutes. And when a colony collapses, it's not just individuals who die, an ecological function dies. Without ants, debris accumulates. Pests explode. The soil loses aeration. Without wasps, certain populations become uncontrolled. Without swarms, the balance is disrupted. Organized violence, however brutal it may seem, is a key part of the system. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the forest and under the relentless desert sun, the armies continue their march. Invisible columns cross territories. Winged squadrons take off in search of new objectives. War needs no rest, because in this world, death is not an accident. It's a process. In the war of the microscopic world, not all killers resort to force, numbers, or immediate poison. Some prefer something much more dangerous, the deception. While armies advance and chemical predators carry out invisible sentences, there exists another silent elite. Hunters who don't chase, don't charge, don't attack en masse. Hunters who weaponize the environment itself. Here, death doesn't run. Death waits. In the jungle, in the desert, in sun-drenched clearings, or in the damp gloom of the undergrowth, there are forms that don't seem alive, leaves that don't move, flowers that don't wither, twigs that don't break in the wind. But some of them are watching. And when the moment arrives, the landscape shatters. Among all the creatures that have perfected the art of deception, there is one that became the absolute symbol of the ambush, a sculptor of patience, a motionless executioner, the praying mantis. But not just any mantis, the flower mantis. In the tropical forests of Southeast Asia, where flowers compete to attract every pollinator, there is a creature that decided not to imitate the environment, but to surpass it. The flower mantis doesn't hide like a dry leaf. It doesn't disguise itself as a dead branch. Its strategy is bolder, more perverse. It becomes something desirable. Its body takes on shades of white, pink, and yellow. Its hind legs widen into lobes that replicate the shape and texture of real petals. Its posture, its gentle swaying in the breeze, its calculated stillness, everything is designed to deceive. For a pollinating insect, this mantis is not a threat, it's a promise. Bees, flies, and butterflies approach, attracted by the color, the shape, the illusion of nectar. They don't detect danger pheromones, they don't perceive the vibrations of a living body, they see a perfect flower. The praying mantis doesn't move, it doesn't betray its nature, it can remain like this for hours, days if necessary. His patience is absolute. When the prey enters the exact range, the deception is broken. In less than 1/100th of a second, the front legs shoot out. The spines close around the victim's body. There is no time to flee, no scream, no reaction. The flower transforms into a trap. The prey is still alive when it is slowly brought toward the mantises. The mantis is in no hurry. It chews calmly. It often starts with the head, silencing any attempt at resistance. The contrast is brutal, beauty and violence coexisting in the same body. But the deception doesn't end with the hunt. In this species, even reproduction is an extension of predation. When mating season arrives, the air fills with chemical signals. The much smaller and more fragile males respond to the call. They know the risk, but the urge is stronger than the fear. The male's approach is a dance of pure tension. He approaches with extreme caution from behind, measuring every movement. One mistake means becoming food before completing the mission. If he manages to mount the female without being detected as prey, copulation begins, but the danger does not disappear. Often the female attacks during or after mating. She decapitates the male and devours him, not out of cruelty, but for efficiency. This extra food provides her with the energy to produce healthy and numerous eggs. The male's life becomes fuel for the next generation. In this world, even love is lethal, but the flower mantis is not the only master of deception. In drier regions where vegetation is sparse and camouflage must be perfect, another hunter adopts a different strategy. It doesn't become attractive, it becomes invisible. The desert mantis, its body is tinged with dull greens, earthy browns, and dusty grays. Each segment mimics dry stems, withered leaves, and plant debris. It doesn't look like an insect. It looks like part of the soil. It doesn't hide behind its surroundings. It becomes them. This mantis can remain motionless for hours in the scorching sun. Its triangular head rotates slowly, scanning the space with eyes that calculate depth with stereoscopic precision. It doesn't follow the prey. It lets it come to it. A grasshopper advances along the same branch. A distracted, herbivorous insect approaches. The mantis doesn't tense up. It shows no anticipation. It remains frozen until the distance is reduced enough. The attack is one of the fastest in the animal kingdom. The front legs close like living guillotines. The prey is impaled on spines. The execution begins, but even these perfect assassins have enemies. Birds, reptiles, bats. Some have learned to recognize the deception. When the mantis is detected, its strategy changes. It abandons its stillness and adopts an intimidating posture. It raises its legs, opens its wings, displaying bright colors, trying to appear larger and more dangerous. It's a desperate gamble. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Further down on the ground, another killer uses deception in an even more disturbing way. The killer red bug. This creature doesn't just kill. It uses the bodies of its victims as part of its camouflage. After liquefying and sucking out the insides of its prey, it doesn't discard the exoskeleton. He keeps it. The remains pile up on its back, forming a grotesque armor made of corpses. Visually, it looks like a heap of refuse. To the nose, it smells of old death, confusing predators that hunt by scent. It is a camouflage built from the memories of his crimes. This deception is not aesthetic. It is functional. It allows her to approach new prey undetected and, at the same time, hide from those who would try to devour her. Death disguises itself as garbage. Another deception specialist is patrolling the air. The robber fly. Its body is not showy, it's not colorful. Its strategy isn't to attract attention, but to remain unnoticed until the very last second. From its perch, it looks like just another fly, harmless, but his vision is precise, his reflexes deadly. When it detects flying prey, it doesn't attack from behind. It intercepts, it calculates the future trajectory and launches itself at an unexpected angle. The impact occurs before the prey realizes it's in danger. The deception here is not in the form, but in the perception. The victim never sees death coming. And while these predators excel at individual ambushes, others take deception to a massive scale. Some insect species synchronize their emergence. Millions appear at the same time, saturating the environment. Predators cannot consume them all. Excess ensures survival. It is a collective strategy based on numbers. But even in this apparent chaos, there is order. Deception is not random. It is the result of millions of years of selection. Every color, every shape, every behavior was tested and perfected by death. Those who failed disappeared. However, this delicate dance between hunter and prey faces an enemy that understands neither mimicry nor evolutionary strategies: the alteration of the environment. When forests are fragmented, flowers disappear. The praying mantis loses its habitat. When soils degrade, colors no longer match. The illusion fails. And when the deception fails, the predator becomes vulnerable. The disappearance of these predators is not silent. It has consequences. Populations of herbivorous insects increase, plants suffer, the balance is broken. In the small world, beauty is not a luxury, it's a weapon. As the sun sets and the shadows lengthen, the statues return to their places. Flowers that are not flowers, leaves that watch, twigs that wait. The war continues, but now we know something more. In this universe, it's not always the strongest who dies. It's the one who doesn't know how to see. In the insect world, war never ends. It just changes form. For millions of years, this microscopic universe has functioned like a precise machine, fueled by death. Every species occupies a place. Every predator fulfills a function. Every prey, as it falls, maintains the balance of the system. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is free. However, even the oldest and most refined systems can break down. Up to this point, we have observed the great executioners of the insect kingdom. Hunters designed with surgical precision. Biological weapons perfected by natural selection, strategies that allow no room for error. The praying mantis, queen of stealth, the dragonfly, sovereign of the air, the ant, embodiment of collective power, the hornet, executor of organized massacres, the robberfly, assassin of the sky, the red bug, silent executioner. But this world doesn't revolve solely around success. To truly understand it, one needs to observe failure. The praying mantis, for example, is not an infallible creature. Its reputation as a perfect killer masks a much more fragile reality. Its strategy depends on a single condition, not being detected. And that is a constant risk. In dense ecosystems, such as rainforests and scrublands, many insectivorous birds have developed extraordinarily sharp vision. They don't look for complete shapes. They look for errors, tiny irregularities in the natural geometry of their surroundings. A leg that's too straight, a symmetry that shouldn't exist, a shadow that doesn't move in the wind. When the bird detects this anomaly, the mantis ceases to be a hunter. In a matter of seconds, the attack occurs. The beak strikes with brutal force, designed to shatter chitin. The grasping legs seize the body. The mantis's famous scythes barely manage to unfurl. The execution is fast. At night, the danger increases. Bats don't rely on sight. Their world is built on sound. Every ultrasonic emission reveals volumes, densities, contours. The mantis's visual camouflage becomes completely useless. To the bat, the mantis is a solid object floating in the air, nothing else. The attack is surgical. The bat's wings envelop the prey, the teeth pierce the exoskeleton. The body falls. The living statue breaks. The robber fly, one of the most aggressive predators in the air, also faces its own limits. Its strategy relies on speed and surprise. One strike, one hit, one chance. But the sky is a chaotic environment. Air currents, pressure changes, unexpected interference. Sometimes its prey reacts sooner than expected. Other times a bird intercepts its path. Even other predatory insects can anticipate its attack. When the first blow fails, the fly is exposed, and he dies. The dragonfly, symbol of aerial dominance, is not immune either. Its wings, though powerful, are delicate structures. One miscalculated impact, a collision with a branch, a strike from a larger bird, and its reign ends. The sky changes owners without warning. On solid ground, armies also fall. Ants are the ultimate example of biological organization. No individual matters. Everything is subordinate to the colony. Their chemical pathways, their internal hierarchies, their division of labor. Everything functions as a superorganism. But that system depends on the stability of the environment. When torrential rain washes away the pheromones from the soil, the columns break. The worker bees are lost. Food doesn't reach the nest. When a drought hardens the ground, the tunnels collapse. When a fire sweeps through the territory, the entire colony can disappear in minutes. There is no fight. There is no possible defense. Only environmental annihilation. Without worker bees, the queen is isolated. Without food, the larvae die. The colony ceases to exist without any direct enemy having attacked. An empire disappears without witnesses. Giant hornets, the apex predators of the insect world, are not invincible either. Their power depends on the nest, that fortress of paper and wood where the next generation is gestated, and some enemies learned to attack right there. Specialized birds with thick plumage and resistance to stings excavate, destroy, and plunder the nests. The defenseless larvae are devoured one by one. The lineage is dying out. The tyrant is left without heirs. So far, everything follows natural logic. Predators falling to other predators, strategies failing, environments gradually changing. But now a completely different force has emerged, one that does not participate in the food chain, one that does not respond to evolution. Rivers and wetlands become polluted. Chemicals alter the water's composition. Oxygen levels decrease. Dragonfly nymphs, which live for months or even years underwater, die before completing their development. The life cycle is interrupted. Forests are becoming fragmented. Logging eliminates the specific flowers that some mantises use for camouflage. Without orchids, the flowering mantis is exposed. Its deception ceases to work. Hunger becomes constant. The massive use of pesticides makes no distinction between species. Toxins accumulate in the soil, in the water, in the plants. Predators and prey die alike. The war ceases to be regular. It begins to destroy. When predators disappear, the ecosystem does not become peaceful. It becomes unstable. Populations of herbivorous insects multiply uncontrollably. Plants are devoured, crops collapse, insect-borne diseases spread. The absence of hunters is more dangerous than their presence. The insect world is a reflection of the entire planet. Its health indicates the state of the global system. When the buzzing subsides, it's not a sign of relief. It's a warning. And yet, this universe does not give up easily. In remote regions, far from human intervention, the war continues as always. Praying mantises still wait motionless for hours. Ants still march in endless columns. Dragonflies still patrol the skies. Life persists. Each insect is born alone, without protection, without learning. From the very first moment it must survive or die. There is no morality. There is no choice. Function only. That brutality is not a flaw. It is the engine that maintains the balance. Eliminating predators does not bring peace. It brings collapse. Because without hunters, there is no control. Without control, there is no balance. And without balance, life as we know it falls apart. Beneath our feet, above our heads, on leaves we ignore, and in waters we cannot see, a constant war is being waged. An invisible, silent war, but absolutely necessary. Every motionless mantis, every advancing ant, every dragonfly slicing through the air. They are cogs in a living machine. The day that buzzing disappears completely, it will not mean calm. It will mean that something fundamental has broken. This was the world of predators in the insect kingdom. A brutal universe, fascinating, essential. And although many of these battles take place out of our sight, their consequences reach every corner of the planet. The next time you hear a buzzing sound, don't ignore it. It is the sound of balance struggling to survive.